Okay, so as you go along, you want to make sure that you're keeping the grading criteria in mind. Hopefully we will have had a chance to glue that in on the inside of our pocket of our sketchbook so we can refer to it. So these are the things to keep in mind. So you need a nameplate with your first and last name, your hour, and art exploration. You need to have the entire front cover filled with images in color. So when you look at my example here, there's no purple showing through. We have filled the entire thing. It's okay if a little bit of the spine is showing, but other than that, I shouldn't see the color of your folder. I want to learn as much about you as possible from this project, which leads us to our next criteria. Images and text should reflect your interest and personality. And so that's when you can return back to this All About Me worksheet that we were working on, and you can bring in some of those things that you were writing down as your interests and your likes and things that describe you. Then the next thing, don't forget, we talked about how a lot of times in collages there's overlapping of images. It makes it a lot more interesting when you're seeing bits and pieces, add a lot more visual interest. So when we do our collages, we want to make sure that we don't have a lot of the folder showing. So as you're finding images, we're just going to collect them and set them off to the side first because we want to have a plan. If we had started to glue down everything in the beginning and then we find a big image that we want to use, it would end up covering up maybe some of our favorite pictures. So as you're looking for images, I would suggest coming up with a big image for a background that you can glue over the top of. It could be an image that has something that you want to say about yourself in it. It could just be an interesting background. So here I love the beach. It has kind of that Italian feel. Yes, it's got some words up here, but eventually I could cover those up so I don't have to see those. I could create my own background and make it using some different materials. There's some different scrapbook papers that we have, or interesting papers that I could use to create that background. When I was looking through and I thought, wow, these have some really fun colors to it, so I could use that as a background. Another thing you can do, if you don't like the overall image, but you like the different colors or textures that you're seeing in it, you could take and create your own background. So this is the one that I was working with, where I took an under the ocean photo and a Roman ruin, and I cut them apart and I created a pattern with them, and then I started to create some doodling and things to help fill in some of those other spaces. We're going to use this as my background today, and we're going to build on top of that. The other thing you want to keep in mind as you are picking things out to include, you need to be able to tell me at any point why you have that image. So make sure you're making good choices about what you want to include. That way it helps to describe you. Remember, you will be presenting these to other students, so you want to be able to tell them why you have that piece. So I've got my background created. Now it's time to start arranging. Now before I glue, I'm going to take the time to place the things on here. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself as I'm arranging, so you can learn a little bit more about your teacher. There is a really cool underwater sculpture garden that's on my bucket list of places to go. So here's a little piece of one of the sculptures found in that. And I lived in Rome for a while, so I have the Italian word Roma for Rome. While I was there, I visited the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I want to include some of my art background, so I love to take pictures and I love to draw. Notice I'm using a combination of words and pictures. It all depends on what I can find in the magazine. Now, if for some reason I can't find everything, I can take time and draw something. So I do play the piano, so I drew out a keyboard here to represent my music background. And then my first pet was a guinea pig, so I could include my guinea pig here on the top of the Leaning Tower. My favorite musical of all time is The Lion King, so I could add that up there. My birthday is in April. I could add that on here. And right now, as I'm placing, it's okay to have things sticking off and trim those before we glue. And then I feel like I'm always racing the clock, trying to stay on top of things. I do have dogs, so I could include a picture of a golden retriever. I have a golden retriever and a Shorkie. And I think education is so important. It's part of what led me to be a teacher, and I am a lifelong learner. I love to keep learning. I wanted to include some art in there. I could maybe figure out a way to arrange it so it looks like art education, and maybe I move my puppy here to a different spot. And then as I finish, I'm like, uh-oh, I forgot something. Okay, don't forget your nameplate, so I can kind of look and see where would be a good spot for that. If I'm happy with it, my arrangement, then I can start to glue. Now when you glue, it works best to use a glue stick because I feel like I don't have as much excess glue. So when I'm happy with it, I might even take a quick picture with my iPad or my phone, so that way I can remember the arrangement, and then I'm going to slide it off to the side. Now, if you're seeing this video and we're not allowing phones, again, just try and remember your arrangement. If you really think you're gonna forget, you could maybe ask to have the teacher take a picture to help you remember. And then I'm gonna start gluing. When you are done, if you have some pieces sticking out, like we have the camera here sticking out, you can take and wrap them around the edge and glue them into place that way, or you could cut them off. What works well is if you flip it open and then take your scissors and trim the extra right along the edge there. Now, one thing I want to point out, you can have ripped edges, you can have nice neat cut edges, doesn't matter with a collage. Now, if you are stuck, here are some suggestions. Okay, so I couldn't find a picture of a volleyball, so I drew it. I couldn't find a picture of a piano, so I drew a keyboard. Another thing that I could do is I could look for a word. So maybe I'm looking for the word music to represent the fact that I play the piano. Or maybe I could spell it out. So I could take and cut out individual letters to write whatever it was that I couldn't find in the magazine. Make sure that you're getting some good overlap. You don't want to just have all your pieces just with big gaps between them. When you are finished, again, any loose ones for the day that you don't get attached, you are going to stack, paper clip, put inside, and then we will be turning these in a little bit later. I'll have the deadline on the board, and then you will be writing an artist statement, which I will go over with you at a later time. So good luck with your collages. I can't wait to see them and learn all about you.